This is an example business meeting lesson. So the purpose of this lesson is to use common vocabulary using different stages of business meeting. So introductions, reviewing past business, discussing items, finishing the meeting, to introduce common phrasal verbs used in business meetings, e.g. run out of or reach out, to introduce common expressions used in the meetings, and vocabulary covered to small talk, attending, absentees, standing in, tasks, chair, chairperson, minutes. So there's a lot to cover here. So let's start. Okay, so introduction to business meetings. So I'd ask you, how often do you have meetings? How long do the meetings typically last? Do you look forward to meetings? Do you think that some meetings are a waste of time? Business meeting introductions. The following dialogue is taken from a business meeting. And I'll ask you, can you complete the dialogue with the correct prepositions? So these are of, to, in, for, or at. Meeting chairman. If we all here, let's get started. So first, all, I would like you, please join me welcoming Brian Jones, our regional sales manager. Brian Jones, thank you. Having me, I'm afraid our national sales director, Frank Delone, can't be with us today. He is traveling at the moment. Note that Frank Deloney is an absentee. This vocabulary item will be introduced on a slide later in the lesson. Reviewing past business, can you guess the meaning of the expressions in bold? Meeting chairman, let's get started. We're here today to discuss ways to improve online sales. First, let's run through the report from the last meeting, which took place on May the 24th. Brian, can you take over? So Brian. Thanks, David. We began the meeting by approving the changes to our contract with Brooks Brothers. Then we went over our recent sales numbers. I included a copy of the main ideas discussed on the photocopies in front of you. Note definitions are provided through matching exercises on the following slides. Next, we'll look at beginning a meeting. Beginning the meeting, can you guess the meaning of the expressions in bold? Meeting chairman. Thank you, Brian. So if there's nothing else we need to discuss, let's move on to today's agenda. Have you all received a copy of today's agenda? The first item on the agenda is online sales. Tom has kindly agreed to give us a report on this matter. So discussing items, can you guess the meaning of the expressions in bold? Tom, before I begin the report, I'd like to get some input from everyone. I'd like to know what percentage of your time is spent focusing on online sales. Let's go around the table. John, to be honest, I haven't yet mastered online sales, and I only devote about 10% of my time reaching out to potential customers online. Susan, I'm on the same page as John. I'd love to learn more about what can be done to increase our online presence. Frank, recently I've been focusing about 50% of my time on online sales, and I've noticed quite an improvement in my numbers. Discussing items, can you guess the meaning of the expressions in bold? Tom, okay, thanks for that information. Is there anything else anyone would like to add? Well, let me begin with this PowerPoint presentation. Tom, as you can see, we are developing new methods to reach out to online shoppers. Tom, I suggest we break up into groups and brainstorm some ideas. So reach out appears in context for the second time in this lesson here. Finishing the meeting. Can you guess the meaning of the expressions in bold? Meeting chairman. Unfortunately, we are running out of time. We'll have to come back to that at the next meeting. There are still some issues that we need to deal with. Brian, before we close, let me just summarize the main points. So I'd ask you a question here. Do your meetings usually last longer than planned? Business meeting phrasal verbs. Can you match the phrasal verb with its meaning? Business meeting phrasal verbs. Can you match the phrasal verb with its meaning? So that's run out of something, reach out to somebody, come back to something, deal with something. Phrasal verb practice. So run through a typical day in your life. Have you ever run out of something important? Do you feel like you're usually on the same page and agreement as your boss? Would you like to take over for your boss? What do you deal with on a typical day? Business matching vocabulary, match the noun with its meaning. Agenda item input brainstorm absentee. Business meeting vocabulary, match the phrase with its meaning. Chairperson, clarification, consensus, objectives, and punctual. Business vocabulary conversation. The chairperson or chair is the highest officer of a committee or group. The chair is typically elected by members of the group. He or she presides over the business meeting. Have you ever been the chair of a meeting? What does it mean to preside over a meeting? What are the qualities of a good chairperson? Meeting expressions match the beginning with its ending. If everyone could take, it's my pleasure, please join me, we are just waiting, could you provide us? Meeting expressions match the beginning with its ending. We have to keep each item. If nobody has anything to add, have I addressed? Let's bring the meeting. That seems to be. Meeting expressions practice. Complete each sentence with the missing preposition. Some prepositions are used more than once. With, at, on, over, to, out, and in. We don't have much time. Let's move to the next item. I provided everyone a copy of the report. Please join me congratulating James on his new position as Vice President. The next meeting will be held Friday the 6th of June, 12 p.m., the boardroom. Meeting expressions practice. Unfortunately, we are running out of time. Maria, can you take from here? I have to run. Several companies have reached to me for information on our latest product. It's 5 p.m. Time to bring the meeting a close. We have many topics, the agenda to discuss. So that's the lesson on meetings. And that would be a lesson that we would do to help you with your meetings. Okay, thank you.